Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Baco Motorsports Power Hour. I'm Louis Amestoy, editor and vice president of content for the Bakersfield Californian, and your host today. And over there in the corner is the one, the only, the Grumpy Griff.
Makes you head muckety muck.
Head muckety muck. Yes, I've been running around like crazy.
Yeah.
We got an esteemed panel today because we're going to do the show a little bit differently. We got a big show come up on Friday. The World of Outlaws making their return to Bakersfield. So I got Scott Schweitzer here, who last week he was like in my position last week. All he was stuck in meetings with the World of Outlaws, trying to get the show figured out. It's a huge show. And then we have our other our true motorsports expert over there, Jason Galvin, is from Channel 17.
I'm an expert,
watch him on the Sunrise edition of Channel 17.
Sunrise, that's like before the sun rises.
Before the sun rises.
And people are actually awake then?
They are awake.
It's hard to believe, isn't it?
Hard to believe.
Yeah.
Before Matt Lauer, watch Jason. That's what we need to do. So.
That's a good sales pitch.
There you go.
That's a great sales pitch.
All right, listen, we got one of these great World of Outlaw drivers on the call right now, and it is Jason Sides, right? He's not on yet. Oh, he hasn't called you. They'll be on shortly. We'll get him on here in a second. Let's go. Let's go ahead and go to the slides here. Just don't forget to follow us on Facebook. Next week, I was hoping to do it today. Next week, we will live stream this show directly to the Baco Motorsports Power Hour page on Facebook. And probably all the rest of the shows for the year will be streamed on that as well, as Bakersfield.com. Join us on Instagram and Twitter and YouTube. Yes?
Since we were waiting for Mr. Sides to call, and we just have some slides here, big news in the world of drag racing.
Yes, what is the big news?
Bob Vandergriff shut his team down. Retired. That means Leah Pritchett and Jason Connolly.
Dave Connolly.
Dave Connolly, former pro stock driver who switched over to Top Fuel last year, are out of jobs. And a whole bunch of people in the shop, which I think is even worse. And it probably leaves the NHRA with less than 16 Top Fuel dragsters. Retired.
And
all of a sudden,
I'm going to put retired in quotes. The NHRA did a fantastic PR spin on that.
How do they spin it exactly?
If you read the story on their website, it says retire. People forget C&J Energy Services, big oil company, basically has funded those cars for the last couple of years. Their CEO died unexpectedly, like he was like 56 or something like that last month. They got a new CEO who, like the next day when he took over, was like, we need to reevaluate how we're spending our money around here. Reevaluate means not spend $10 million a year on Top Fuel dragsters. And if you go read the NHRA story, it says he retired, and at the very bottom there's a quote from the C&J CEO, and it's like, yeah, after many discussions with the C&J CEO, we decided it was best to retire. And I was,
wow, man. and that's huge because Leah Pritchett, he's coming off a big win,
right? Takes one of the top drivers, up and coming female driver out of a ride, a great young, I mean not that young, but obviously a good
pretty
shoe,
young still.
In Dave Connolly, and it leaves them without 16. I guess the Greek can come and qualify now.
They're without 16 fuel cars anyways.
They were down to 15, so maybe Ferreira out of Tipton, the Tulare area.
Yeah,
Steve Ferreira can go qualify for a few races.
There'll be a few people who just show up at these races.
Yeah. So we'll talk a little bit more about NHRA's troubles a little bit later. Automatic qualifiers for all areas so far. Brad Pounds, Eric Simmental, Lonnie Spiller, and Jerry Flippo. Spiller and Flippo out of Bakersfield Speedway. So great news from them. Their wins 2 weeks ago got them in automatically. Don't forget, we're going to have that fast trip all-area team later this year. Now let's get to Mr. Sides, who's on the phone, World of Outlaws Racing. You're joined by Louis Amestoy, Mike Griffith, Jason Galvin, and the one and only Scott Schweitzer. Are you there?
Yes, sir.
All right. We might want to turn them up just a bit. I'll turn my headset up. Okay, so you're coming out to Bakersfield. The World of Outlaws returns. What does that mean to you to get out here and race on this historic track?
Well, it's been quite a few several years that we've been there, and just from what I remember, it was a good little track. It was nice and racy, and had some hellacious races on it that night.
Now you've been out. You started your West Coast swing back in early March, late February. Yeah. Have you been out west, or do you go back home to Tennessee in between races, or what do you do?
No, we've been out here the most of the time. We went home the Easter weekend. We've got my brother and I. We've got 3 children between the 2 of us. He's got 2, I got 1. So we went home and spent Easter with the kids and the family.
You do that. You come back out west, and I think the Outlaws have added a couple tracks they haven't been to a while out west, including Bakersfield. How big is it to come back to some of these tracks and get more on the West Coast swing?
It's always good to go back to a track that we haven't been to in a while, get some exposure at the different tracks. Going back to Bakersfield, it was one that I believe Myers promoted back in, I think it was 2005, was it? And had a really good turnout, and they enjoyed it a lot. So just to get back to that track is going to be one of those, a good one to get to.
Talk a little bit about this. What's it take to win one of these races? You win a handful every year. How important is qualifying or finishing well in a heat race and starting somewhere near the front of the field in these short races?
Well, especially this year with the format change where they changed it to qualifying is put your heat races straight up. So now it's more important than ever to get qualified in. The top 2 in each heat go to the dash. After that, everybody starts straight up behind the dash cars. So it's more important than ever now to get qualified in and get a good starting spot. There's still been some really good races like Chico. I think it was Don was started 14th, and between some of the adversity through other people, he still won the race. But starting 14th, it's pretty tough to do that nowadays.
Yeah, you're not going to see too many cars come from 14th to win, but it seems like there's been, I think, 9 races out here on this West Coast swing, and Donnie's got 4 wins. Everybody else has 1. What do you take out of that?
They're just that good right now. That's who everybody shoots to beat, and if you can outrun him or at least run with him, then that'll put yourself in the top 5.
This is for Scott Schweitzer, who is here with us as well. Scott, the World of Outlaws returning here. What does it mean for you personally to promote this track and to promote this event here?
Well, it's an honor. Like Jason said, back in 2005, I actually rented the track to Jason Myers, and so it was just a facility rent. But this time to get with the World of Outlaw group and secure a date for ourselves and do it in-house, we're really excited to be able to bring it back to Bakersfield. The fans keep asking for it, wanting to see these guys. They're famous. They see them on MAV TV. They see them on the different deals, and to bring them to our hometown, we're honored.
Jason, for just the casual fan, I always like to ask this question too. What do you think sets apart the World of Outlaws racing compared to anything else? If I'm just coming out for the Bakersfield Speedway for the first time, why would I come out to see you guys?
It's a show. It's an actual. I don't want to say circus event, but it is a show. There's between local and the Outlaws, it's kind of like the NHRA and regular drag racing. The show they put on, the trucks, the trailers, the vending area, everything is bigger than your normal local deal, and the racing is there's so much respect between the racers and the drivers that they'll be either if it's depending on the track, if it's good and raceable, there'll be slide jobs like you've never seen, clean. Some may not be so clean, but there'll be some really good racing. The speeds are up there, just everything into it, and then you come down afterwards, and every driver's there after the races to meet and greet all the fans.
And this sport has a strong connection to NASCAR, right? Casey Kane owns a car. Tony Stewart obviously famously owns a car as well. Is that
Yes,
how important is that to the sport?
Well, I mean, it's we as a racer myself, I appreciate those guys always giving back and supporting what we do or even where they came from. If without those guys, you're talking 3-4 cars down and you wouldn't have near the exposure. But with their names being tied to it, I think that it gives the World of Outlaws a lot more exposure than what it would normally.
Because they don't just support you, though. They like to get in those cars, too, and race them themselves, right? I mean, isn't that been sort of the story there?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, even I was just I saw where Casey was at Lincoln and Williams Grove the past weekend or coming up weekend or something. So, any chance they get to go race again, they'll go do it.
And how do you like competing against those guys? What's it like to compete against those big guys in NASCAR?
Well, I mean, it's always good to race with them. I mean, we've raced with them before, and even when Casey, before he went to NASCAR, raced with him some there at Volusia and Florida when he would come down there, or even when we got to the Washington area, we'd race with him out there. So it's always good to race with them, and it just puts a little extra added pressure.
What are the challenges that you guys face at a track like Bakersfield? Big cars, lots of horsepower, but very small. I mean, it's a third mile, but it's kind of a tight third mile.
Yeah, just get in there and you actually want to get the setup correct, right off the bat, because without being there for a long time, you don't get very many laps there. Your hot lap sessions are only 3 and 4 laps, and you really got to guess right off the bat. As far as the setup and get the car around the track.
Is there a track that you guys have run maybe on this swing that you feel like maybe set you up for this place? It's comparable at all, or is this kind of like a shot in the dark?
I've got some notes from 05, but with the cars and tires changing so much, really the only thing you can kind of look at is kind of how the car was set up and basically maybe a gear-wise, like I said, with the tires changing, that always changes the gears. But it gets you some basic setups, and I'm not sure about a track. Maybe somewhere we raced on that size track would be for myself, would be like a Little Rock, Arkansas, or somewhere that's smaller, that's similar to it.
And I think the track's changed from 05, has it not, Scott?
Yeah, we've brought in clay twice since then. We've done some reshaping on it. But the one thing about this is Jason Sides still to this day holds our fastest single lap track record out there, and everybody always asks, well, who's made the fastest lap? And It's Jason, and it was a 10.32.
Wow.
So he's been around there. So anybody knows how to get around, and we're talking to the guy now.
What's the mile per hour on that, though? At 10 seconds? I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's a fast lap.
Jason, real quick, let me talk to you. You've been doing this for, I think, 2002, since the World of Outlaws. Just give people an idea of how many races a year, discounting even going to Australia, and how much of an effort it takes to run the whole series, plus the other races you pick up.
Well, yeah, we normally start off in Australia, get about anywhere from 8 to 10, 12 races down there, come back, and then we start our season in January, early February there in Florida. And we get about, usually without any rainouts, it's usually scheduled at 90, 92 races, and then with a few rainouts, you get about maybe 84, 86, plus your 8 or 10 races in Australia. The couple before or after, that you can go run when you get a local weekend or something. We get about 100 races a year, which in turn, makes it almost, two or three a week during the race season. So. You don't have much off time anymore between Charlotte at the end of the year and then getting ready to go to either that winter heat or Australia. So you got about maybe a month and a half, 2 months to get all your stuff ready.
How many cars do you have, and how many engines does it take to get through a season?
Normally, we'll always start with three fresh cars and then 3 or 4 engines. It would be it's ideal to have you about 5 to 6 motors. You have 1 or 2 at the engine shop, 2 or 3 in the trailer with you, and 1 in transit all the time or so.
Unbelievable. Well, it should be an unbelievable show on Friday night here. Scott, what are the details for Friday night?
Will call and ticket booths open at 2 p.m. Front gates open up at 4 p.m. to let the fans in, and then hot laps, qualifying in hot laps scheduled for 6:30, opening ceremonies for 7:20, and the first green flag at 7:30 p.m.
All right. Well, Jason Sides, thanks so much for joining us here. We look forward to seeing you on Friday night, and hope you have a great time in Bakersfield.
I appreciate it, guys. Hope if anybody the fans come out early, I'm sure they always let them in and see everybody. So hope to see you there.
All right. Well, Jason Sides, you can see him Friday night at the World of Outlaws at Bakersfield Speedway. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to have more from Scott Schweitzer and Jason Galvin and the one and only Mike Griffith after these messages.